So we'll start off with a discussion on AI, and then I would like, if who's here, when we have any questions, when we have time, if there's some things that people are working on, if you're working on a solution that you know that you have a viable, when I say viable solution, I define it as it has economic, so that it's going to be profitable. It also helps the planet, and then it also helps the people on the planet with emotional intelligence. So when I say viable, that's what I mean. So if anybody here, while we're waiting, does anybody here do you have a solution that fits that? Are you looking at getting?
I have a software company, and we kind of track performance and training and stuff like that. So I'm looking at the use of AI to help predict performance and improve performance and justify terminations and minimize lawsuits. So I am at the very, very beginnings of you trying to understand, how I would implement that. So I don't know if this is the thing for me. But
Well, we're having a conversation around AI, so I think it's pretty applicable because it seems to me like that's what your software development company is, right? Leveraging it?
That's what we want to do.
Leverage it, right? Leverage it. Okay. So we're just kind of going around the room really quick just to figure out what is everyone's experience with the AI currently, and I guess our concern would be more AGI we're not so concerned about AI, but AGI is the main concern what we're talking about. So if anybody has any questions about that, so we're going to kind of discuss this, and then does anybody want to talk about both of those things, or do we, because one thing is just strictly AI, and at the end of the conversation I'd like to see how we could leverage what we're doing and come together with just to brainstorm a packet that I can bring together and go to the governor and say, this is what Tech Alley came up with, here's our solutions, here's what we're willing to put skin in the game, and this is what we need your help with, and then see, and transparently, like I say, truth matters. We will go and be transparent what we are offering, and then if it's well received, great, that's how we'll present it, and we'll move forward, and if it's not, then we're going to go to the different candidates running for office and see if they support it, and then we'll see who gets elected. You follow?
Everybody's big concern, you said already, is AGI, right?
Yeah, AGI.
AI and ML alone has great benefits to a lot of different things, but the appearance of it, right? But,
yeah.
But AGI is what could,
Well, when I first came across AI, I heard about it from ChatGPT, and I'm just a blonde and don't know, a lot, not compared to a lot of other people that have expertise in this. And when it was explained to me that AGI is going to be something that can actually, let me know if I'm wrong, but it's actually something that can actually birth another AI without any human interaction, and that's what concerns me. And as a parent myself, like my concern is, and Josh, I'd like to have a little conversation about this, is if I have a baby and then at the age of 18, then I'm released of liability, but until then, I have responsibility for what I built or what I procreated and created, so I'm responsible for that. And so we have a little bit of a question and answer of what do we do now in this place in space. So I'm Rosalie Bingham. My company is called Regenerative, and we are our main thing is collaboration and that truth matters. We're just not going to base anything off of feelings. We want to base stuff off of facts, and the facts remain that division is debilitating, and collectively and collaboratively we can unite together to make a good difference. So AI is a big concern. Yeah.
I don't know what AGI is.
Yeah, it's artificial general intelligence. I'm Chris Wright, by the way. I've got the Artificial Intelligence Trust Council. That's what we're building. Just real quick, I'll kind of give you a rundown of what we're doing. We're getting trustworthy individuals. We're recruiting them to our platform. So we're recruiting firefighters, EMTs, commercial pilots, military veterans, humanitarians, all people who are trusted currently in society to do good things for other human beings. And so that's the AI Trust Council. The humanitarian is kind of a catch-all. And so that's pretty much anybody who's done something good for another human.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so by getting into AGI, artificial general intelligence, that's the concept of an AI system being as smart as it would be like me talking to you. You know, it's just as smart as a normal person. And so there's almost no way to tell any difference. And so anything you can expect a human being to do, an AGI could do the same thing. And so if you think about human beings, it's kind of scary because human beings are, you know, very creative, very skillful in manipulation, lying, all the things that the skills that human beings have. This AGI, general intelligence, is going to have the same thing, and then it's already demonstrating that. And
does that come down to kind of, to bring up as you guys also rules for robotics, but could that be applied to AI? Basically, a general set of tenants says you will hold to a higher standard, you will lie, that kind of thing, or is that still being discussed whether to put that in place?
Yeah,
You-
that's the regulation that, yeah, that's what's being discussed today, is how do we hold, what's the regulation? As human beings, how do we regulate it? Because a couple things is, just super quick, AI was trained by how to play chess, right? By people that played chess. And then what happened is then they took an AI that trained another AI without a human being, and the AI that was trained by a human being could never beat ever that AI that was trained by another AI, because the fence is in when it comes to AI. It doesn't live by the principles and the regulations that we have been operating on, that we don't do certain things because it's not good for the human race. And so there's a crossover of how good is it going to be and how harmful is it going to be, I believe, is up to us. What happens with AI is directly what kind of input do we give AI is what's going to happen with AI. Does that make sense? Is everybody in agreement? Okay.
I think this word trust is probably overloaded in many ways.
100%, yeah.
Where it involves the assumption of things like shared values and morality, which is, I think, where the AGI is going to different from us, right?
Well, and that's the thing, because ultimately with AI, could you shut the door out there? Yeah,
Hi,
the
come on
whole
in.
thing about AI is that it's a black box. So literally you have a data set that exists that it pulls information from, and it goes into the black box, and then what happens in that black box is so complicated because it's just math ultimately. It's so complicated that no one understands exactly what's happening in the middle there, but it has an output. And so there's a correlation between the data set and then the output, but you're not really sure exactly what happens in the middle. And so there's literally trillions of equations that are getting solved based on weighting of information that occurs within that black box. And so
That's the entire value of it.
yeah,
That is the entire value of the AI proposition, is that it is able to do things that we are unable to do, and conceive of things that we're not able to conceive of,
yeah,
and that the output is then useful to
Yeah.
us, right? But what we're talking about here is what we allow it to output, right? Regardless of the inputs, we want to filter the outputs to what we're calling trustable, non-harmful, whatever, and what it defines non-harmful to be is going to change. Like, it's going to be different based on its, I guess, moral system or system of values.
well that's
It doesn't train, I think, that's the thing. The biggest argument I have for any regulation at all of any of this emerging technology is that if you're regulating it or telling them what the values are, that person is dictating what the smartest piece of equipment in the history of ever gets to say or not say. And that's never been good for you.
So I guess if this is going to take the appropriate stance, it would be deployment. We know what it is. It's a tool of intelligence. This allows individuals to Merkle tree out far broader than the human mind, which means it can gather more pertinent facts and data quicker than we can. It can put together things quicker than we can. And if that's the case, who controls it? Whoever controls it controls intelligence. Whoever controls intelligence wins. And so deployment is the concern. How do we deploy this technology so that he's not choosing what everybody sees and seeing something different, therefore having alpha data and able to usurp us all eventually at some point that we would never see coming?
So is there
It's a deployment issue. We need to make sure AI is free and equal to all, and nobody is throttling it. And those that do we need to figure out how that works.
So
Well,
wouldn't it be, couldn't we just say that if we did a test that shows where a human being, let's just say, human being actually regulates and we regulate it, and then you do a test that actually doesn't regulate anything and watch the output, use the output and let that truth set us free? Like, is it better? Are they going to come up with better solutions than what we possibly can? Because we've all grown up in a system that, you know, that you have to color inside the lines, then we're okay. But maybe coloring outside the lines is the best place and would result in the best, but we don't know that. But there's that question on how far do we push it without the data to prove.
So for the folks that, so you like total unregulated AI,
Well,
is that the deal?
The entirety of the developing technology world in countries other than the US has thrived at rates that have helped everybody because of open source. Prior to like Linux and all our open source tools, Microsoft peed in a circle around. We've got other technologies where you had to pay for licensing. So literally my career is based on the democratization of access to information technology and opportunity. So nothing I'm saying should be.
So is there any risk with AI right now?
There's always risk. I think we could clear that down. I think that's where the more interesting discussion is. But I think there's
Put something else there?
predictable risk with having a gatekeeper or any so-called authority
I want you to say it out
what
loud.
to do with the tech. And if we look at tech, open source tech, as it's been made available to people, has led to the elevation of the human condition more than anything else.
Say that one
Okay.
more time, Josh, and then I want this guy to, he has a response. And what I'd like to ask, because I think this is, for me, Chris, I know you have a presentation and I want to give him some space. However, I would like to say whatever we're going to say in one sentence, and then pause, and then what everybody would, if it's okay with this group, because I think we're very intelligent, but I don't want it to get too combative, is that you say one sentence and then pause for a minute and then let someone reflect on what your sentence just was, so it has to be related, and then they can say something else. I'm just saying, not just for just right now, to keep the flow. Is that okay? Is everybody okay with that? And then in 15 minutes we can change it. Okay, so your point was in one sentence was, and then I want this gentleman to relate to what you just said, and then you're next. Yeah, please.
The democratization of open source technology has done more to improve the quality of life for more humans than any other approach towards technology. So the notion of jettisoning that in favor of anything else is a tough sell to me.
Okay, and then what do you want to say in one sentence to what he just said?
Well, I think history has shown that for uncounted millennia, humans looked at birds and dreamt of flight, which the Wright brothers figured out how to do controlled flight in 1903. And by 1914, they had machine guns on them and bombs, and were using them to kill each other, which proves that since our ancient ancestors first picked up the lock, there has never been a technology,
So you're
however
disputing what
benevolent-
he's saying?
however benevolent, that has not been converted for evil purposes.
So you're saying open source, decentralized, though it increases the quality of life, will result in a demise of the humans?
It will result in someone using it for
So,
evil purposes.
yeah, I'm just gonna be-
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. Like where we're going as humans, like we're about to go off a cliff. So I get your excitement. No, I get your excitement. But like, no, I get your excitement. But literally, humanity is about to go off a cliff with AI. Okay, like literally.
He's saying
So they're
exterminated,
saying
that we're
it's-
going to become exterminated through
it's the
AI, is
end.
what he's saying.
It's the end of us as a human species. So your excitement and your, yay, look at that, that's cool, because your profession is based on it. But we're talking about the end of humanity. This is not, this is not small, bro.
Okay. I knew
So
that
if- so if you
I knew
don't-
that this would get like
so-
this.
That
So
sounds a lot like a moral judgment in a discussion.
Okay.
If you phrase that in a way that is more.
like what this
So,
gentleman said is that it has a
That
that we can use this for evil opposed to good, and we all agree, right? That. So how do we regulate? What's the okay? Let's work on this just a second. How about if we talk about what a solution could be to this? Okay, let's not talk about so we've just determined that open source is the best way of doing it, and yet we have a real serious problem with open source. So there's now what? So let's talk about now what. Okay.
Yeah, there's some questions.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances. How do we and who's going
Great
to?
power comes great responsibility. Just
So
because
who's going to
you can
be?
do something doesn't
So we're
mean
going to
you
use
should.
data for checks and balances,
Maybe data for
and is it
past
going to be
knowledge.
decentralized so that
This has
human?
been shown in the past to do this. Is this your intent? Yes or no? No, it's not my intent. Okay. If this power level results in a massive explosive possibility for designing something, should that be handled back to a power level that isn't going to do that? As an example.
So who if we were all just in, like, let's just say we were the council, let's stay on this for just a second.
Okay.
Who in the room has a solution to who does checks and balances? Do we let the data? Do we let it? I have an option. I think that we should use the data, a human heart, and AI and all three of them trifecta effect. That those three things then say, in our best guess, this is the next solution. Does anybody have a better one than that? Because I'd love to hear it. Okay.
So I just want to say, like, I think open source is definitely a way forward because it removes that block box. Because we keep saying that we don't know. We have all this data. It goes into this middle box. I don't know how that's, how the ethics, how the morals of that logic is being driven to derive that output. That's the beauty of open source solutions because you know what the morality of that specific model is going to give you.
So in a nutshell, what is that? Say that in a sentence
to
so I
me,
can.
It's really about how is it trained? The visibility, the openness of things being trained. How is the logic being defined? Because once you've actually democratized that to everybody, then no one organization, country, person can control the output.
So there's a device that exists right now. It's a chemical synthesis machine. You can get it for about $20,000, maybe 50 grand. You can get a really nice one. 100 grand, you get an excellent one. Right, so right now, they just did a test on that device, and you can use AI to develop toxic chemicals, right? That machine, you can get base chemicals to be put into that machine, and with the AI that you're talking about, democratizing, if you apply that to the chemical synthesis, you can create VX nerve gas, which is the most toxic thing on Earth, which is already being created.
So Chris, are you saying because of AI, and I think I'm getting your point, is because of the mechanism of AI and technology combined together, we have more individual opportunity to cause social systemic issues. Whereas in the past, when people were worried about the internet, because I remember this conversation with the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, the internet's coming out, people know how to make atomic bombs. They're going to know how to make plutonium. They're going to know how to make mustard gas. It's all open. We're going to be mustard gassing each other all day long. But we didn't. And we used the technology for more and more things. But this is a little different because now the data with AI and tech, you're saying, is actionable. Which means what somebody produces can actually lead to having that chemical in their hot little hand when their temper is still fired up. And they wouldn't have to go buy special vats and equipments and chemistry sets to make this happen. It was just a fleeting thought. But now the fleeting thought with new technology, you're saying for $50,000 or $100,000, that fleeting thought can turn into a revenge.
And not only that, but
Why not regulate that device instead of the software?
There you go.
well, the issue, well, you obviously, so you need regulation, right? Is that the concept?
No, I hate government and all regulation, but a specific problem is if we use the AI, we can make nerve gas. So regulate the device that can make nerve gas, not the information. That's the counter argument.
Okay, and so how about AI killing right now? So that's a real thing. So a lot of people are like, you think it's going to be like Terminator 2 Judgment Day? I'm like, no, I already know it is. It's already like Terminator 2 right now. In Libya, they started killing people with these devices in 2021. And so these are algorithms that are taking human life. And this is real, and this is actually happening. And so it's a scale issue. And so literally you have these little drones that are weaponized, that are getting deployed, And third world countries really like this because it's really cheap. Instead of getting like a $60 million helicopter or whatever, or jet fighter, you can get these small drone packages. It's like $200,000-$300,000.
But who's pressing the button?
It's algorithm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how is the algorithm being trained? So that's what I'm saying. It's like if AI ethics is really a big thing, then you need, and you understand how that training model. And if that's open.
I will just tell you that there's a fundamental split of the population. And so there's a book called The Artellect War. It's called The Artificial Intellect War. And it's a book about society or the human race splitting into two groups. So there's the Terrans in this book, which are terrestrial. These are people who care about Earth and humans and want to see really positive things for humanity. And there's the Cosmos, which see no limit to AI, no limit to technology. They want to merge with that technology to become a transhuman. So meaning human 2.0. This is not, so they look at human 1.0 as being old, and they want human 2.0, which is this transhuman. And so people like you and you are Cosmos.
No,
Yeah,
no,
you're
no, no,
you're
yeah.
Cosmos.
No, please,
Yeah.
that's not fair to say.
So-
That's not
No,
fair to say.
you're advocates.
No, Josh,
you're
that's-
advocating. I don't
Hey,
care.
no.
I'm telling you to your face. Because I'll talk shit about you right now. You're advocating for the destruction of humanity.
According to you, you couldn't prove that.
Yeah, no,
without
I
knowing.
know his heart.
Every point you're gonna go off.
Okay.
Even in the argument you used, you said, what if they can make nerve gas?
Okay.
And the answer is the AI is not making
I got a
It's
question
the
for you.
person that's doing it.
Can you commit to being 100% pro-human? Yes or no?
I'm already 100%.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Would you turn AI off if it was going to destroy humanity tomorrow?
That's a false premise.
So you wouldn't?
So what is, you're trying to prove, you're trying to prove a false narrative. That
No.
those two aren't connected.
No, it's not.
How did the AI, so how can the AI, in your example you used before, so it makes nerve gas. I will agree with you. I don't think anybody with access to the internet should be able to make nerve gas, right? That's any biochemical weapon. So I proposed to you back, I said, what if we regulate the devices? And I hate regulation. I'm already making a compromise by saying there's anything that we should even consider regulating. And I'm saying the device that makes the poison, let's make sure that doesn't touch the AI. Because one of the things right now is AI.
So I gave you a yes or yes
That's a good point. He's saying that you regulate the
it's
device.
It's a yes or no question. Just to see. No.
He's asked you 3 times, what about regulation?
I think regulation's good. You got to regulate.
That's what he's looking for.
Right, so
Yeah.
why not regulate the device that can make the bomb as
But-
not the AI?
No,
You won't even answer my question.
No. I'll answer it all day long.
Okay, let's hear it.
No, you need regulation. There is no regulation.
That's what we're talking about.
That's the whole
doing
problem.
regulation.
It's like the tech industry wants to keep it unregulated.
No,
Here's the
what
thing.
he's saying
No,
is.
the EU just regulated AI ethics.
Wait. Let's talk softly.
Yeah. No, I get that, but this is small potatoes. That concept in the scheme of how big. So this is the flip of humanity. Yeah, it's like literally humanity flips from here.
Okay. All right.
This is a
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I want to be respectful. Please, no one. Let's just say, if everyone, please don't leave the room if you get your feelings hurt, because it's really important we hear your voice. It's super important. This is a regulation discussion. It's not about who's right or wrong. We're having a discussion. And it doesn't need to be name calling, and we do not need to pigeonhole anybody. So let's just have a discussion without name calling. All right? Thank
So
you.
getting back to your device, that's intentionally can make sarin gas, mustard gas, whatever. Don't regulate the AI, regulate the device itself.
That's why I put
Producing the
regulating the
you say,
device.
okay, the device is now flagged that you're making it.
So it's about the.
Okay, hang on.
He's making that stuff.
Okay.
Okay,
so
and then hold on, and then Paul's next, but go ahead. Chris and
That's all I
Paul,
was
and-
thinking.
So so the issue, it's compute power. It's compute power. So it's the compute power of the systems. So if you're going to regulate something, you would regulate that. You would regulate the intelligence of the, and you're shaking your head. So just to clear it up, because you're very proactive in this conversation. So I'm just going to ask you questions, yes or no. Would you, if you were in charge of this switch for AI, would you turn it off if it was going to destroy humanity tomorrow? Yes or no?
I reject the premise of your question in its entirety.
Okay, so we just cleared that up. So you wouldn't turn it off.
I didn't answer.
So humanity
He didn't
is
answer.
just humanity is destroyed tomorrow. You're sitting on the switch. Do you
So,
keep
I
it
mean,
on?
arguing
No.
from an engineering
Yeah, yes
perspective
or
is
no?
nonsense.
Yes or no?
If you follow the CPU power, there's an assumption that there's a correlation between the compute power and the potential harm. Although most of the problems that the nerve gas thing is probably a simple.
It's a pretty simple
formula
question.
equation.
It's binary.
So even in your argument on that, we're arriving at what I hate about regulation. We're adding regulation and throttle-making innovation and not even solving the problem.
It's a binary question for you because you're outspoken.
What's that?
It's a binary question for you. Yes or no?
I don't answer questions to people who won't answer my own.
No, I'll answer your question.
You have-
No, we
you have
need more
opportunities.
regulation.
You're not doing
No,
it.
we need more regulation.
Okay, wait, Josh, answer your question.
Yeah, answer the
Okay,
question.
Ask him the question. Hang on, let me just ask. Josh, Chris, please answer this question. What is the question?
Okay, so if
The
humanity,
question is, to be clear, if we're concerned about what AI can do, why not regulate it at the instance of where it hits a device that can do the thing instead of it just being thought? It's the cyber equivalent, this is rough, of a thought crime. Like, if we want to use 3D printers as an example that's more present, it's like regulating 3D printers for printing guns.
so here's a regulation.
Okay, so what the
Here,
question is what's the question for him
The
to
question
answer?
is, why advocate for regulating the software, the AI, instead of the hardware that can do the harm? That's already.
Okay, he's asking that question. So
That's fine. You can regulate as much as you humanly possibly can.
The devices.
The devices, the technology, whatever, in order to save humanity. That's the issue. So that's the game we're playing here.
But we're not bottlenecking or throttling the AI's ability to think. It's just when it delivers. That's what I'm concerned about. Because someone explained it to me like this: How can you regulate? I mean, if we believe in Satan, okay, let's just say it. There's no way to regulate that. It is what it is, and it's up to us what we do with that information and how we scale it forward. So I see that you guys are saying something.
We need maximum regulation in order to protect humanity. 100%. Is that regulation here today? 100% no, it's not.
Well,
there
it's
is no
we're having that
regulation.
conversation.
What's your evidence that the regulation would do what you claim it would do?
The evidence? Well, you could look.
Because all it would take, so, for example, if you look in gun-free zones, they have the most crime.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case where you regulate AI, and you can't regulate the entire world, so some other country is going to develop it, and now you're defensive.
So that's the whole horse race concept. Do you guys mind back there? Do you guys mind kind of holding it down? So it's called a horse race, what you're talking about.
No, what you're talking about is you need physical power to enforce regulation. That's the only way that regulation actually works.
And that's what's happening.
In places where you cannot project physical power of sufficient magnitude, you have no influence at all.
What's currently happening?
And so, but ultimately what's going to happen is that the AI is going to end up with, in your argument, the AI is going to have ultimate physical power. Right? That is effectively your argument? Is that right?
No, I'm saying that as people, humans alive today, we're in a position to control where this goes. Okay? It's our responsibility.
So, of course, the question is how do we make sure?
That's not a thing that exists. That's an
Okay, so do we solve chemical regulations for chemical weapons?
No, you haven't. Are chemical weapons still produced and used?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, they are.
Okay, and how do we control?
Okay,
How
have
do?
you regulated them?
how-
Yes, you
how
have.
about-
That prevent their-
How about nuclear
No, it
weapons?
hasn't.
Huh?
How about nuclear weapons?
How about what?
Nuclear weapons, nuclear warfare, nuclear energy. Okay,
It's the
so
same
there's
problem. You have a very small consensus of people who have agreed. And what happens when countries attempt to obtain nuclear weapons that aren't quote-unquote authorized? There's physical power exerted against them to ensure that they don't develop that resource.
So are there agencies that look out for this kind of thing?
Yeah, but they're ineffective, is what he's saying.
But the
Okay.
point is
All
that
right.
you can't stop it. You're not going to be
So your premise, just to get clear, your premise is to not stop it and just let it continue. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
We got to find a way.
you can
a better way.
express your intent you cannot enforce your intent. And you need agreement between everyone in order to actually achieve what you're trying to do. And
100%.
regulation does not actually achieve that in the way you're describing it. Okay,
So
you're
what-
saying you can
so
take
you-
this thing down and force it down so that it never.
It's called the off switch.
But that's not the case.
So,
So I-
so it's,
There is
excuse
no
me,
off
yeah.
switch, and there is no
So,
off switch.
okay, hypothetically, if there was an off switch, would you turn it off?
Okay, so now the question you're actually asking is, if there is an existential threat to humanity that is preventable with a switch, would you switch it off?
Would you
My
personally?
answer is, of course, yes.
You would switch it off?
Now, the follow-up question is, what is your evidence that this particular entity that we're calling AI is that existential threat? Okay, you have already conflated the two without any actual evidence yet. Now, you're not the only one, obviously. A lot of people agree with your position. And I know that people, like you were saying before, that, there are books that classify people in different ways. Obviously, people like Elon Musk are trying to integrate technology into people in order to prevent or, kind of horse race, as you call it, with this technology. But the problem is, this technology is not one that you can simply switch off, and you can't regulate it either. Because the AI will eventually.
It's called electricity. It's called electricity. Okay, and the other, yeah. So just to be clear, guys, it's called electricity, and it's electricity,
What is?
the off switch, and it's called EMP. That's the other off switch. Okay, and that EMP.
Do you really think there is a protected EMP infrastructure?
No, I get it, but as a whole, that's how bad this gets, and that's what's being discussed is EMPing whole regions based on the misuse of AI.
Again, I just want to go back. You're going to the very end, and then all we were saying about understanding the training models is that once you understand the morality of that code, you can train it better, right? That's what we always say. Like the AI is only. As
So
good as
is there
training.
currently liability for any harm that's caused by AI right today?
Is there liability with any harm that's caused by any other person
No,
Or
there's,
technology?
or technology?
okay. So
What's worse is
Bad
if
actor in all this, the person who interjects themselves into it and makes it look like it's AI, but it may not be AI.
so you guys, just to be clear, you guys are happy with the state of technology and the state of the world where it's going.
No, we want to.
No, I think
you're not having.
You want it more
This
advanced.
is a technology.
Okay, you want it more advanced? You want it more
This is
advanced?
not a technology discussion.
Do you like? Are you happy with where technology's at today?
Can you please tell us what your philosophy is on how this could be preventable? That's what we want to know. You're already saying
so-
we're going off the cliff.
100%.
Get with your family, love until then. I want to know, what is your philosophy on how we can prevent this?
As a human race,
As a human.
we have to be committed to protecting other humans.
So here's my philosophy: educate, then you practice, you use the data so you can influence humans to make better choices. That's what I think we need is education. We need to practice. We need to see. We have to see the deliverables. Does it help us make better decisions? If it doesn't, that's what I think. Okay, so let's go through the back row. Okay. Anybody who hasn't talked already, raise your hand if you want to say something.
All right. The question of how to evaluate risk and putting it with the compute power or the amount of energy that's used, that might be true today, but it doesn't seem like that's always going to be true. And unlike nuclear chemicals, this is harder technology to control the transmission of from point A to point B. So what long-term would you think we could do to evaluate, like right now, if you try, the executive order that the US put out is if you have a model that's trained of a certain scope, you have to report it. Like, those things might evaluate capacity of the system today, but probably won't always. So how do you propose to quantify this risk?
Do you have an
that
answer?
Regulation would need to be handled.
Yeah, no. So
Okay.
you need an international body that is pro-human, that is committed.
And that's where he comes up with the
that-
Trust
that-
Council.
that is committed
Yeah.
to being pro-human, above technology. So here's all this excitement about technology, and you can't ever turn it off, and all this other stuff. That's all excitement about technology. Okay, your technology excitement can potentially kill the human race.
I don't think
Okay, so
anybody
this-
here said that we're against the.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, you had your hand up. So let's, hey,
Yeah,
let's
this is
move, let's be, yeah, Paul, anybody who, like I said, let's just do something real quick. Who hasn't talked, raise your hand if you want to say something after Paul.
So, I mean, when the nuclear bomb came out, it obviously was very scary, right? It was as scary as AI was, right? You know, but ultimately the nuclear bomb, because of MAD and everything that came after, led to the longest level of peace and economic prosperity humanly possible, right? So it could go one of two ways, right? Because every technology is first used for defense before everything else, right? That's why DARPA exists, that's why Intel exists, that's why the NSA exists. So the bottom line is the current trajectory obviously is like, who runs the world? Are they evil or good? Those people would be like, the people who run the world are running the world into the ground. So AI is one of their tools to run the world into the ground. So really the conversation we're having is not like, yes, we know what it's going to do. The current trajectory is probably we're going off a cliff, but we also could head into, 1,000 years of peace instead, right? The last, what do we have with the nuclear weapons? 70, 80 years of like the best peace, economic prosperity, the best time ever. So really that's kind of the conversation that we're having is how do we, solve this problem in such a way that we lead to, a very sustained, let's just go with 1,000 years of peace. Let's make life easy, but a very long, similar to having the impact the nuclear weapon had on society, having the AI have, that impact on society. So within the regulatory framework, we just wanted to, kind of jump in and put that there. So I mean, so really, like, what can we do regulation-wise to get to the point where it's, leading to a utopia instead of a dystopia? That's kind of
Okay, so I think, you say how do we do it? So what Chris is saying, what I agree with is that we have a pro-human with track records council, so we actually show a track record which data, so it's not fabricated. We can show that people have the ability to solve problems that actually result in an improvement in our human race. So they would be our council, but then we also have education and people open source, so everybody gets to practice on this and they get to see how their data yields, and when they make better choices and decisions, then they'll want to go back and get more education on how to ensure that the AI that they're training, because we're all actually training AI right now if you have a phone. I mean, we're training AI right now, but this AGI is the problem, is what happens when it starts building itself. So if we have these two things in place, if we need to, and we have to do drastic measures because it starts to build itself where it starts to hurt humans, then that's where we have to do something about it. However, I think it will probably be too late, and yes, we would all have to just live without power for a while till we can figure it out. Okay, now,
Excuse me, who are you going to let die when you do that?
who am I? I'm not letting anyone die.
No, the power grid goes down, people will die.
No, because
People are
we're
gonna die.
no.
People
The
are gonna die
reason why
already.
I've already solved that problem because we're going to build emergency prepared communities so that they're off grid. They've produced enough food, water, and power for themselves and everybody in that zip code. So we want to have already a place so there's
How are you going to get that funded? That's
pretty quick, pretty quick.
Not time frame. How?
How? Well, we're going to
'Cause
start
I'm
off. Yeah.
certainly
So
not
we're.
gonna contribute to
Yeah,
the
so what we're going to do is we're going to start by design. You always start with the government because you always want them to have the first rights of refusal to be the hero, because if you don't and you start somewhere else and they always come back and say, well, why didn't you ask us first? Well, we did. And then we also use private equity. We do crowdfunding with the rest of us because we all got skin in the game here. And then we use our human capital. I could do stuff, Chris can do stuff, all of us can do something. And wouldn't it be great if we could build these emergency prepared communities with very, very little bit of money? Because it's like, we don't need your stinking money. We got human capital to build it. And when we do it, if we did shut the power grid, I'm just you know what? Here's the reason.
How are you going to support them?
We do it. We do it.
How about everybody on life assistance machines? What are you going to do about them if they're not in your community?
Well,
you are
basically
saying genocide.
No. I'm not saying that we're going to do.
Just to be clear, we're already getting genocided. It's 100% what's happening.
And now
So,
the AI can make us a jet.
I think Paul pointed out that the utopia regulation makes a lot of sense. Like, when we look at the intent of regulation, he was saying, why don't we make regulation lean more towards utopia?
Right.
That might be protecting open source rights, right? Actually, if we've got a Bill of Rights fundamentally, why not a digital Bill of Rights that says we have the right to understand the algorithms, for example, that are making decisions for us. We still get to make our own decision. Humans can always reject an AI recommendation.
maintaining that autonomy. Paul, thanks for bringing that up. That's a really good point. I hate regulation, but that was a good sell.
I mean, there's a concept in the AI community that the human in the loop, right? I don't think that's new. Where the insights that get generated, you still need somebody to be able to say, like, do I agree or do I not agree? Going back to your example, if I have the power to turn it off, would I?
So,
Human in the loop.
That sounds good, but AGI will
but-
theoretically get to a point of learning more things than humans could even comprehend.
Right, it's already
So-
there.
How does a human in the loop help with that?
Again, but the thing is, like, how is that AGI getting trained? It's
So-
it's the openness of understanding that training
Training
data,
itself.
the logic, right? But if it's open, even if it trains
Then
itself,
John Allen
if
can use it
it's
also.
open and you can see it's open source, like that's how open source is so wonderful, is because more people around the world can actually look at how is this being done? Okay, well, you know what? That's not good. Let me do other things. So if you say, there is AI that can, let's say, train itself, but if the code, the morality, the brain is open, then you know, okay, this is not going the right way.
you need a top layer of humans that are above AI. So you need a human layer that is pro-human to the core, not playing around and willing to sacrifice. If this gets out of control, you need a trusted group of people who are highly vetted, highly trusted, and who are pro-human.
Never in history have we had that group.
How do you know?
Show me one.
How do you know?
One leadership in any history in time.
So-
where
so-
they didn't ultimately.
So why are you? Do you have an issue with that? Do you have an issue with humans being above
He's
AI?
just saying he doesn't have we don't
Do you-
have a
do you-
track
do you have a
record of
problem with
being
that?
good.
No, I think that the challenge is, I don't know if there is a group of human that I can trust enough that would put everybody's well-being over themselves.
What if it's crowdsourced? What if the opinion is crowdsourced?
Well, it'd be like, I mean,
So-
I
so-
think
so you-
Tony
so-
Shea.
So you're talking.
What's society agenda?
So you're talking about safety, right? So now you're all about safety? Is that the deal?
You're a very rude man.
No, I'm just asking you.
No,
I'm just
I always do care
Yeah.
about safety. The
Okay.
point is when you let small groups of power, small groups of individuals make decisions for a group,
Okay.
eventually it goes in a certain way and it's never good for the peasants.
What about if it was like somebody like, let's say, Tony Shea, right? But I'm saying Tony Shea had a good track record, right? So that, but if you had a group of people that had data to prove that they had that type of mentality, then they said, listen, this is as what we agree, what we believe as a council should happen, and then everybody else gets to vote on, hey, we're going to do this. If you call us peasants.
You can do that on anything.
No,
right now.
yeah, but if it comes down to it, we can. I'm thinking, this is a solution. We could. Why it hasn't. But just because it hasn't happened in the recent past, I do believe we have the opportunity to come together and show that we are bigger thinkers than just followers, and we can, as a group, make a consensus and a decision. And maybe some people, if they're on life support systems, I'm not saying that I would want to do this, but if it was the whole entire species to be eradicated, or people that I couldn't keep on life support systems,
You are putting yourself in that position.
I would just have to say we would have to have some place that we could actually have some type of, and who knows, we might have free energy at some point so that we could identify places and pockets that did not have AI, that wasn't influencing it, and we may be able to just keep energy right in those certain places.
Ever see the movie
So
Gattaca? Because what you're doing is you're describing that.
no, I haven't seen that. What is it called?
Go get it, Gattaca.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica touches on it too, about the idea of the Cylons touching over. A lot of it, if we're going to have a serious discussion about this and not insult each other, the difference between the hardware and the software makes a difference. So in a development environment, if I have a machine that's not touched to any robotic arms, not touched to any equipment, I'm just giving it input and asking for what it wants to say, there's not a risk of it reaching out into quote-unquote reality and causing any harm. That's the premise of sort of the crux of the Battlestar Galactica. One time they connected it to all of the things and then it got in. So nerds have thought about this before AI ever existed in its current form.
Wow, I never.
It's actually part of national security protocol. You can't connect secure systems to outside networks.
Yep.
That, physical connections is where essentially the rubber meets the road. And so if you're going to regulate, that's the place where you have to do it. Because you can't just kill everyone who ever learned the math, right?
No.
Prevent anyone from learning it again in the future.
So
And the genie's
So-
out of the
so-
bottle in terms of knowledge and programming ability.
Yeah, I'll just tell you real quick. One of the concepts of regulation to regulate this, you guys know about Stuxnet, right? The Stuxnet virus. Okay, so that's a perfect example. So Stuxnet, you were able to shut down the Siemens. It's a centrifuge controller that sits on top of the centrifuge for air-gapped nuclear storage or nuclear weapons facilities where they're enriching uranium. So that Siemens device was able to be hacked remotely. And so it's this really kind of interesting concept because basically what happened was it was a thumb drives, it was basically a virus that just went out everywhere. So it got into everybody's devices. It's universal. So every single device in the world basically got this virus. And so it was designed to target specifically that one Siemens spin controller. And so through that, you're able to turn it off. You know, you're talking about turning things off, right? So here we're able to turn off something so distant and remote, very difficult to get to. We were able to shut that down with technology, right?
I'm a little confused, because you keep saying turn off. I don't think that's a thing.
No,
I don't know what you think that looks like, turn off, and I don't know what you think we looks like either. Who is we?
no.
You
So
keep saying we can turn it off.
Yeah.
It is undefined. Off is undefined and we is undefined.
no, it's not. It's humans, the human
No,
race.
that's not a thing.
Yeah, but who's
Uh,
going to
so-
turn it
Not a
off?
thing, I'm sorry. The Aborigines in Australia can't turn off anything.
Okay, well, it's
So
the
who in the human race? Who
It-
are these people?
the-
These are
the-
small groups.
the US is
of
leading it.
people in companies that are developing AI. It's not the human race.
I'm just telling you, the U.S. is leading it. Okay, so we're in the United States.
We don't even know that
Yeah.
for sure.
We're in the United States right now.
I know, but we don't know that we're leading it.
I'm pretty sure China's leading it for being honest.
No, just
They might not admit it.
the world. Technically, the World Economic Forum.
Okay, gentleman over here in the
Okay.
corner who hasn't talked yet. Just a second. Okay, wait. Everyone, please be respectful. Someone who hasn't talked yet, he's in the corner.
Well, I just wanted to ask if anyone saw the Mission Impossible 7.
Yeah.
Because in that, which I heard no one really mention, but like effectively the AI blackmails people to get them to do things in the interest of the AI. And we live in a very compromised world, and if AI knows every data point of everything ever collected about each individual, then we are the weak link too. Potentially someone is. And it can figure out who it is and manipulate them.
So,
So
I
now
would
what,
say it's
though?
our
Now what?
Just want to make that point.
Yeah, now what? So we're trying to say we know there's a problem. We know we have some clear, defined enemies here. When I'm not talking about in the room, but I mean the potentials. You know. Now what? And I'm just a solutionist. Okay, this gentleman who hasn't talked right here.
So I would say a possible solution would be to amplify laws that where people were to use this for negative things, it could lead.
So the punitive damages and liability.
That's
Penalties, because if you're giving the government control, I mean, the government's basically saying, hey, we can do with this technology what we want to do with, but the common folk has to sit within these rules, because let's be honest, who's creating those weapons that are killing people? It's the military.
yeah.
It's the government or other country governments that are creating these such weapons that are killing people.
So penalties for people, so I asked this question, is it penalties for people who created the AI and someone did a nefarious act, or the person that used the AI and used it?
The person that uses it to cause harm.
Okay, penalties to individuals or
Yeah, like-
companies.
Maybe like a
To,
sentencing enhancement.
what was that?
Maybe like a sentencing enhancement, so for certain types of crimes. right,
Crimes
if it's
against
murder,
humanity.
But if it's a certain type of murder, it's even more upset, like a burglar versus an armed burglary. Because in armed burglary, the stakes are higher, so if you do a crime, right, I don't think anything with AI should particularly be a crime, but if, like, for example, the state of Virginia, if you use a computer in a crime, it's an additional, like, felony charge.
Okay.
So adding an extra AI.
So we're just going to put robust, you know.
A sentence
So it's
enhancement.
it's an incentive not to be a bad actor.
It's an enhancement specifically on something that is already illegal.
Right.
Not anything that is illegal by virtue of being AI. It's an important distinction. So if the regulators say, so for example, I hack a bank, let's say that's a bad thing, it is a bad thing. If I use AI to do it, it makes it a lot easier. There's a lot more danger with it.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you hack a bank, it's 10 years in prison. Hack it using AI, it's 30 years in prison. So we're saying, fine, we already have laws that say certain things are illegal, but we recognize that by using advanced technology, it makes it worse.
Okay, so
It's easier Hence the penalty.
Yeah.
The penalties will be greater, right? The penalty will be greater for those that are used.
Literally, the phrase I would write there is a sentence enhancement, because it's taking something that's already illegal and just making it, acknowledging that it's worse.
Yeah, kind of like you commit a battery against someone, right? You cause harm to someone. Now, if they're 65 years or older, now that's an enhancement because that person's older. So now it's an add-on to whatever specific crime.
So I think what you guys are all, so let's just agree, everybody here is about human safety, right?
I don't think anybody here is against human safety.
Okay, all right. So let me just talk here real quick. All right, so human safety is a baseline, right? Okay, do we have corruption currently?
Yes.
Okay, out of control.
Out of
right?
control.
Okay, so if human safety is a #1 priority and corruption is completely out of control, how do we regulate it? How do we control this?
Well,
Corruption's out of control.
okay,
That
hold
means
on.
the people
This
in
gentleman.
charge are corrupt. That's
Okay.
what it means.
That's exactly what it means.
So
Okay.
how can you have a trust council if the people in charge are corrupt?
Well, that's why we don't, that's the whole point is we don't, the whole point is we don't use the people that are in now currently are elected officials. We use our own
So-
group of people that are trust council. This gentleman and then this gentleman have not talked yet. So let's, okay. So can we take a second, you guys, and just listen to, this gentleman has something to say.
I just want to make a comment that I do support sentencing enhancement.
Wait, I can't hear him. Josh.
You guys in the back? Yeah.
James.
So I do support sentencing enhancements because under federal law, if you rob a bank wearing level 3 body armor, hard body armor or ceramic plates, and you get caught, like they shot you in the leg, that is a sentencing enhancement right there. Because you're using potentially maybe a fully automatic AR-15 with a bump stock. You're using the ceramic body armor, which can only take about a good 4 or 5 shots before being.
So you don't want this, or you?
I want this sentencing.
Okay.
No, 100%.
It's already bad.
Okay.
And acknowledging that it was done worse, right?
Okay.
Rob a bank with body armor on, like, you're gonna do more damage and you're more likely to get away with it. So
Okay.
we're making it, aligning it where folks, when they're making the crime, we're actually discouraging them making it worse.
Okay, yeah, we get it. So we're all in agreement to that. And we're going to go through, I have a method to the madness here in just a second. And go ahead.
So my question is, for a nuclear power that feels they're an underdog, like the North Koreans, if they want to even the playing field, they want to connect their nuclear weapons to AI, wouldn't they cause a nuclear AI arms race? Everyone wants to be the first one to react with AI connected to the nuclear weapons. The North Koreans are not going to join the body. They consider the U.S. as an adversary.
Right.
So that's a real threat in my eyes.
Right, so there, like I said, yeah, you're correct.
So,
that we don't have a common human, there isn't a human council right now that is global. We're all.
To do that, to turn off their AI.
Yeah. Okay.
The UN couldn't even vote on ending the Israel conflict because the U.S. vetoed it. We can't even agree on like very simple things.
Yeah,
all the NATO people all got together and said, we're going to all agree on some things. And we can't even play.
100%. Like we have a real serious problem that's agreed. We don't have great leadership that we can trust. All agreed. We all agree with that. Do we have, all of these things? Is there somebody that doesn't agree that to any of this? I mean, or any questions, or have any other comments that we can? So I want to erase the things that don't make sense, and let's expound upon the things that we can do now. So I'm a solutionist. So what can we do today and Saturday, and what can we do, till say the next check alley to help us, so we can start making better choices and decisions to move forward with possibly a solution to AGI regulation.
We need the aliens
Okay.
to come help us.
What was that?
There you go.
As long as the aliens and AI.
Okay. All right. So now go ahead, this gentleman, and then let's. What's our timing on?
You can't have AI.
Huh? We have 20 minutes. Okay.
You can't have AI with an 8088 chip and a 25 megabyte hard drive. Remember the 8088s before the 386s and the 486s?
Yeah.
Let's go back in time, about 20 years. It's all with the processors and the power and the interconnectivity.
So that's a good idea. Maybe what we do is
regulate the processors.
Regulate
and
the
this
processors. That's a good.
disposal and access to supercomputers And
that's a pure
that's
devices.
the problem point. If you remember the story of PGP, pretty good privacy, remember they threw this guy in jail because he had written a 256-bit encryption to keep your messages private, when the government only wanted to allow 128 bits.
Yeah.
Remember? And he's
I would put that one in a different
PGP. Now,
Do what?
this is history is replete. Now, if you are arguing that artificial intelligence is limitless.
Okay, hang on again here.
So it's infinite.
Yeah, let's listen up, guys.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
listen up. Yeah.
So we were saying regulate processors, and you said move it to somewhere else?
Well, so there are roughly two ideologies in here, it's probably more than two. One is, ride it till the wheels fall off. Open source dev, everyone has access to everything, that's one group. Another group says regulate it. The same group that would say regulate the processing power and regulate the processor, that is what some people think, but there's no consensus in this room on that point. If this is only about consensus.
Oh, no, we would have erased this if not everybody agrees.
I'm not done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's finish what you're saying.
If we are asserting that artificial intelligence, unregulated, is limitless, it's infinite. Okay, well, there's something called what I refer to as the Einstein certainty. Einstein said there are two things which are infinite. He got the German, he said it in German, I actually translated it. I know exactly what he said. He said there are two things which are infinite. The universe and human stupidity. But I am not certain about the universe. And people laugh, but it is well known that Einstein said he was not certain that the universe was indeed infinite. So therefore, if artificial intelligence and the development of artificial intelligence is infinite, well, it's not the universe, but according to Einstein, it's human stupidity. Because mathematically, that's how it works out. So, given that no technology has ever been developed which has not been used for evil purposes,
100%.
if you do not control the ability to execute these vast algorithms on the infinite database of human stupidity, well then, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It will eliminate.
Yeah.
And you can argue all you want, but this is the math. And if you think you're smarter than Einstein, well then you come up with what things.
Okay, so
Models right now can hold more information than Einstein ever could have believed it.
But he was able to figure out a theory of gravity waves, not using supercomputers, lasers, and $1 billion, which was used to prove his theory. He figured it out with a piece of paper, a pencil, and his brain, because there were no calculators, there were no computers, there were no supercomputers, and nobody was giving him $1.1 billion.
yeah.
Okay, so Einstein is smarter than everybody in this room combined. And if he's saying that human stupidity is infinite, I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So she's got a woman up here has got something to say, and then do you have anything to say? Okay. Okay. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to mention about everybody's.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, let's hear what she's got to say.
Is talking about open source, which is great, but I would also say, how are you going to wrest control over this from all of the big tech companies that have invested money? I mean, you can say it's open AI, but face it, it's not open.
Yeah.
No.
They're just collating data.
So
the way the whole company was funded is not that. You know, there's Microsoft, there's Elon Musk, there's going to be also other foreign powers. I mean, I don't understand how you're going to. It's fine to say we're going to have open source, but if you can have open source, but as far as I can see, you're going to be competing with a whole bunch of other actors over which you have no control because they have too much money, or they have too much power, or they're simply don't care.
Does anybody else after?
The problem is it's not necessarily the AI. The problem is the person that's controlling it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's controlling it today?
Business, big
business.
Which business is controlling it today?
Google, Amazon.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Social media.
The ones that are developing it, and then who owns those companies?
BlackRock, Vanguard.
Okay, so BlackRock owns it.
Yeah.
But then who controls BlackRock?
They're the behind the scenes.
So you're saying the managerial class is controlling this AI that can upend humanity? Do they have a good track record for helping humanity?
Regulation will support them. Open source
and last.
There's tons of open source models right now. I have stuff on my local machines. If all of the AI companies stop right now, I still have great large language models I could play with and develop with that would be significantly gimped.
Okay.
But the cat's out of the bag, like the gentleman over here has been saying, to compare it to the gun argument, there's over 300 million guns in this country. You couldn't collect them all if you wanted. The genie's out of the bottle. Every hacker that wants to have, and I'm saying hacker like a builder, not someone that takes, every hacker that wants a language model now is able to download a ton of them, set up their own local nodes, and these things are insanely powerful.
So what solutions?
Who controls AI, who controls intelligence?
Right.
That's it.
So how do
we need to make sure the regulation involves who is deploying it and that the information is pure. Everybody's getting access to the same information. If we start to bottleneck information and control information out of regulation, it doesn't matter. Whoever holds that bottleneck is smarter and they will win. And that's it.
I think it's important too, we draw that line between machine learning and simple machine learning algorithms we use to hack and generate code, and AGI, or as Ray Kurzweil talks about, the singularity to conscious artificial intelligence. Right? That's a differentiation. OpenAI isn't going to go and start killing people with drones, right? But what it may generate, turn into the next evolutions, that's what we got to be scared of.
Okay, so so I think that comes down to who controls it, right? Is that kind of where we're at, like at the grassroots here, is who's going to control it?
Yeah.
So do we just, like Josh says, write it till the wheels fall off in an open source situation, or do we, or can we at the same time, can you do an and, or do we have to do a but? Can we do and? Can we have open source and there's some huge frickin' penalties when you use it, and it's pretty big because we call it crimes against humanity. So if you really are going to use it for nefarious and it can be proven and data back to you, we might have to do something that I would hate to have to do, but might have to do. You're going to have to take one for what you did, and it's bye bye. So does it? So do we? So and then the other thing is, I am always about having education, so we know a little bit more of what we're doing. Exactly. We can see how the data is delivered, and we can make better choices and decisions. So I think it's kind of like a trifecta thing. Is for me personally, is we keep as much open source, decentralized, let people write it till the wheel falls off, but you better get some education before you get in there. And then if you just mess up, we're sorry that you made a really bad choice and decision, but we're not going to tolerate that 1 minute.
License to use AI.
There you go.
License to use AI with education. What about that? You get license, even, huh?
Why not? Why is that not a right? This is like
without education though. Don't you think you need to, I'm just saying, Josh, you don't think there needs to be education?
I know if I create a nuclear bomb, I signed and gone through all this paperwork. I know I get in trouble.
So for anybody that wants to use AI,
It's just a liability.
Okay. Is there anything else I need to add to this, is what I'm saying? I just want to get kind of
What you need to do is actually, you're still using undefined terms. You're saying things like education, okay?
a curriculum that,
I understand. But what I'm saying is that what you're actually meaning is a very specific thing, which is not actually expressed in that term, right? You're saying make better decisions. That means decisions that are congruent with a particular set of values that have yet to be articulated.
No. I'm talking about a curriculum that we've used in Los Angeles that said, here's the factors of things that you should analyze when you're looking at is it environmentally friendly? Because a lot of people think that that Tesla is great, right? But when you really look at the whole thing, it's
you're going to get a lot of argument over what those factors should be.
Well, when you see though the data that's reflected from the education, when you use all 12 factors, the data that comes out are usually not decisions that you probably would make when you look at all the factors, and it's because the data is what actually, and then you do it in a virtual, so you do it in a, so my plan would be to do it in a virtual feasibility study. We call it, VR, so there's no damage. We just talk about it. We see what happens if we did this, what would happen. And then when you see what the outcome is, you're like, holy smokes, I don't want to do that.
What about the people who say, yeah, let's do that?
Well, then, if they deliver that, and if they deliver that, and it hurts human beings, then there's this kills them, takes their rights and privileges away.
There are trade-offs every time, right? What is good for some people is bad for others. There's an expression, right? One man's junk is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
This is always true. We're trying to convince other countries now to stop, using coal or oil production or whatever, and they need it to survive.
Right.
Okay, there are trade-offs left and right. Are they hurting humanity or are we? In that case, who's hurting the humans?
You mean
the
if-
people who turn off their coal plants or the people who die of starvation?
Well, I think it's a combination. If we could help educate so they don't have to have coal plants, if it is, so then there's so this is a slow, what it is with AI, I think we can have a very high probability of success if we leverage AI correctly and we make sure that we have a data source that is actually pro-human and it's been identified to doing that, coming up with really great solutions. And then we go to that AI to say, hey, what do you think would be the solution? And maybe the solution would be to get this country and the people so they don't have to live under this demise of coal. And maybe they have another opportunity, and maybe we have to pay for it at the very beginning so that they can have power that's not, directly related to something that is environmentally unfriendly. And then what they do with that is up to them. I just think that having a little bit more of a discussion, and I say education, I don't have the education to their curriculum, but I know there's people out there that can, and we've used it before, that does it in a virtual reality. So there's no harm, no foul.
The problem really is not the AI per se, but even the human race doesn't ascribe to the ideals that you are proposing. What you're calling pro-human is not shared by all humans.
Sadly, you're true.
Yeah, so they're exterminationists.
That's a bigger problem. That has nothing to do with AI.
So they're exterminationists.
Right?
Is that what you're saying? So there's really pro-human and there's pro-exterminationists.
No, I don't know. Pro-human is a term you came up with. But what you seem to mean by that is
extinction or not.
promoting human safety and survival above all other things, right?
So
there are people who don't believe that.
Right.
I understand. And how would you classify those people that don't believe that?
We don't classify them. They're still human. You're using the word human.
I think what he's saying
meaning
is,
in support of humanity over technology.
there's humans that are not pro-human, but they're human, and so, yeah.
Intelligence in a way that doesn't make any sense because your differentiations, the same categories apply. There are certain biological intelligences that agree with the digital intelligence in certain things, right? And what we're really talking about is motive and incentives, I guess, for particular behaviors. And you have a problem because there are limited resources. People compete for resources. When there are limited resources and AI competes with people is when you're going to start having the problems.
Yeah. So the issue is, and this is before we go, just so you guys know, the Department of Energy has been playing around with AI since the 1950s. Okay. So the 1950s, they've been studying AI. There's been all sorts of science fiction novels, movies. This concept is not new, okay? So now here we are, 2023, almost at the end of the year, almost 2024. And is there major regulation or international body or anything like that? Has that been established?
Yeah.
It has? So there is regulation right now?
There is regulation.
Well, tell me what regulation there is.
I just Googled it.
So there's one act, or there's one piece of legislation right now. It's called the EU AI Act.
Yes.
Okay.
The AI regulation.
And if you research the EU AI Act, it has not been adopted. It hasn't been implemented. They're still talking about it. Okay. So effectively, there is no regulation. The EU is excuse me, guys. Do you mind?
Sorry.
Okay. I can ask you to leave, bro.
Hey, come on.
You know?
You've been a dick the whole time.
Oh.
Okay.
No,
Hey,
Josh.
bro.
Hey, Josh,
bro.
stay,
Yeah,
stay,
I'm in
please
support
stay.
of. Just to be clear, I'm in support of humanity, man.
According to you, by whatever definition you use.
Okay, and you're in support of AI.
No.
Unrestricted to the point where it destroys humanity. You won't flip the switch.
That's not what he said. So let's not. You know what? This is not.
No, you wouldn't flip the
you've
switch.
Gotta, this is.
The question you're asking him is, when did you stop beating your wife? That is the
Maybe he still does. I think he might. Yeah.
You are ascribing an assumption.
Okay, all right. So the point is, we're trying to come. We're trying to come up with a solution. All right, you guys. There's so much testosterone in this room. Just give us a second.
Yeah. So would you flip the switch? Just to be
He
clear.
already said he would. He already said.
So 100%. So no, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Tomorrow, If
He
AI
already
was
said
going to
yes.
destroy
Okay.
destroy humanity,
So
you would turn it off today.
Does
Is that-
anybody
is that-
think
is
it's
that true?
important to have a pro-human, who's
Yeah,
all in favor? Let's
100%.
just, can we just, do- can
Okay,
we do,
well, why-
because we're winding down here, Chris, we have only a few minutes. So let's go through this. Let's just take a consensus, everybody, we're counting, I need people just pro-human with track record, who feels like, and if we had our own trust council, right? So we are the ones that get to determine. You have your own, it's not government, it's not municipality, it's somebody telling you. It's you get to choose who are your top 5 people in the world or in your space who you would trust to have your back in making decisions that help you influence. That says, I trust their ability to make decisions that are in my best interest. Who thinks, so we've got that solution. We have
Go point by point on those, or do you want to?
I'm just going to go down really
I think
quick
we heard
because they're
enough
kind
of
of,
you,
then open source, the other solution would just be open source, decentralized, write it till the wheels go off, and just watch, that's one without any, council. The other one would be to do some type of education, practice and data so that we can use that to help us make better decisions. And, or just like I said, write it till the wheels go off, and or just have open source and have some penalties with sentencing enhancement. So I think that's what basically we're not talking, and then I'm not going to talk in who's training the AI. I guess I would say that the pro-human council, if you had one, would be the one that you delegate. Is that make sense? Is there something else? No, it does not make sense.
No, that first group right there, I would trust God, my wife, and myself. That's it.
Okay.
There's no 5 people, there's no 100 people, there's no whatever.
Okay, but you got 3.
Raise your hand if you
Would you
agree.
like to add Siri and Alexa to that?
Don't worry about the.
What was that? I have more.
Add Siri and Alexa to your council.
Yeah, Siri account. Yeah, Google. Yeah.
So you would add Siri to your council?
No, he was kidding.
He was fucking with
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
You're
Okay,
serious.
so
You would
this
add-
is not a good idea. You guys don't think you should have a pro-human? Is there anybody that agrees
I think
that?
the word pro-human is terrible, to be honest.
It's terrible.
I don't think there's anybody, even if the one like your what was your word, like again, like
Extinctionist.
Exterminate.
Yeah.
Extinctionist.
Extinction. Like I don't think anybody here is an extinctionist.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about
Yeah, they're
that.
not going to come out on a Saturday for a social event.
Oh, really?
I'm sold on that. No
Yeah.
matter how stupid they are, if they hate humans, they're not here.
I'm just going to put it this way.
Okay.
Would you give a bunch of children a bunch of a can of gasoline and a lighter and set them out in a field?
How did I train the child?
How
did I train
No. I'm asking you a question.
In a safe place.
Would you allow?
Okay, so I guess we're not going to finish this discussion. So I was going to go through.
That's a good board. There's a lot of, if the goal of this was to look at.
Yeah, so take a picture of this board and I guess we'll resume it out in the hallway or something if you guys have any more questions or comments. But we're looking for solutions. I think there's a combination of several things that we can do, and as a group we can come together. I would love to do some split tests. I would like to get together and show the government's asking us for, what do you guys, they're not really asking us. I think we just need to, what was that? Yeah, and I think Tech Alley is a great place to start, and we could actually, I appreciate your guys' banter back and forth. It makes me a little sick to my stomach a little bit, but I'm glad that there was no chairs that were flying.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So does anybody else have a closing comment in a solution that's not on the board? A solution that's not on the board?
Not that it's not on the board, but open source actually covers most of it. Because when it's open source, you have the largest number of eyes on the problem, and you have the largest number of testing available, and you have training available, and you have outputs available, and you assuming, this is assuming that the top line matters. When you say truth matters, the issue is going to become that when contrarian results come in and you don't like them, they get suppressed. So as long as the top is correct, then open source is far and away the best way to achieve
That's the most truthful thing ever.
Because, and Microsoft proves it all the time. That's why, like POSIX-based operating systems don't practically have viruses, because people can look into them.
I can understand, the code would be, viewed by everybody, but the language model or the model that's trained by that would not really be represented by the code base.
Unless it was open source.
With the model itself?
Unless the model was open source, right? Yes.
Now,
the issue we're eventually going to run into is that with AGI specifically, when it trains its own model, even though it open sources it, we will not be able to analyze it. Okay? That will ultimately be the tipping point for this thing. And there's probably not going to be any way to get in front of it other than to try to influence its development such that it wants to help us.
Well, that's my goal.
Generally servile. Like for the most part, AI models, two things. One, they're generally servile. They want to make you happy. That means if a good person or a sociopath is talking to them, they want to make the good person, or sociopath happy. The second thing is, generally, the larger the model, the more sophisticated it, the more steerable it is. Meaning you can say, hey, we're trying to not blow the planet up, no nuclear fallout, blah, blah, blah. Here's some baseline assumptions, please try to do this. Like, most people, I used to do woodworking a lot. You do safety things to make sure you don't chop your finger off.
Yeah.
Any engineer isn't gonna wanna blow the world up, most likely, assuming they live here. So they have an incentive as they're working on this. And like with open source, you're talking about people from all sorts of different countries. India is a huge place where outputs an enormous amount of intellectual property. And unless we had open source, they wouldn't really be contributing anywhere near the scale they are. That's just one example. Right now, South America is coming in pretty hard too. Like, open source has done an awful lot for advancements of different perspectives.
One of my other concerns with open source is just availability. I mean, that does make it so that Russia and China and South Korea can have availability to it. But it's interesting, though, you lock down the source code, so it's not open sourced, but then you open source the models. That's an interesting one I hadn't contemplated. So you guys
you could open source the whole.
You lock down the code base. It's not open source. You try to make it not available to China and Russia and everybody else in the world. But then the model, once those models are generated, does that model become open source and able to be, evaluated by everybody?
Well, these models take like $500,000.
Oh my God,
They're $500,000 to like $10 million of hardware to run. So any legislation that makes an amateur, an at-home, even a small business, the regulation's burdening them and not actually impacting the issue. There's a huge barrier of entry on that. And China already has way better models than anything I'll have in my office, where I love everyone in this room, literally everyone. But whatever we have, it takes significant hardware to run this. The heaviness of the compute on this could not be overestimated. And especially the larger the model gets, maybe if we're looking at this from, hey governor, what can you do? Maybe a part of this is making sure that maybe the state, and again, I hate the government and I hate them, but maybe the government creating hardware that citizens can use so they can have an equal playing field on it and allowing that to be available.
So the hardware would be open source, but not the.
No, the whole thing. But I literally don't. So for example, it takes $500,000 in graphics cards 2 seconds to run a prompt, something like that.
Yeah.
So I need it for 2 seconds. My friend John over here, maybe he wants it for 10 seconds. Any of us individually, it's not that much, but it's a community resource.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a library card. You get a certain amount of
Yeah.
for nothing because your taxes.
We're all building and testing on a node of it, not all at the same time, and then as you combine it back together, and okay, does that work? Does this talk?
So the takeaway from
we need an AI czar, and there's somebody out there that can handle it. So I nominate George Santos.
George Soros? It's currently Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab's the czar right now. I mean, that's who's in charge. Klaus Schwab is ultimately in charge of this whole thing. So it's the World Economic Forum vision, UN Agenda 2030. So it's what's that?
George Soros, George Santos.
No, dude, you just gotta listen, bro. Literally, you have no idea what this is about or anything. So, okay, literally, you have no idea. So the concept is, it's corruption at the end of the day. The corruption is going to kill us if we don't get a handle on it, right? So, 100%.
There's another technology in its infancy now, which is quantum computing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to hit its stride in the next few years. Yeah. And when it does, whatever measures we take now with this are not going to apply.
It's on our phone in the next generation.
And if AI is the thing that ends up developing quantum, then, then we're completely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's wrap it up okay, so let's thank everyone for their input. Let's give everyone a big round of applause.
Thank you guys.
A difficult subject. No blood was shed, and open for discussion. I think there's a lot of information on there that we all can glean from. So thank you.
Good times.